All right, viewers, what you are looking at is the very beginning of the process of growing your own microgreens inside of your home. We're going to begin with the same exact step as when you begin growing your sprouting seeds, because what we're going to do is we are going to let these seeds soak for at least 12 hours. I'll probably let them soak for at least 18 to 24 hours. What we have here is broccoli, and what we have here is radish. Radish, as you know, is my favorite for a multitude of reasons, including the taste and its hardiness. And broccoli is a very common one, so I figured I would use that as an example as well. So I got the seeds in my water, in my mason jar. I'm going to let it soak for 24 hours. And then tomorrow we will do the next step of this microgreens growing process, and that is transferring the soaked seeds to the grow medium. The grow medium that I prefer, because I am in an apartment and I don't want to deal with cleaning up of the soil, are these thin, pre-cut 10 by 20 inch hemp pads. I will try to find you a link of the ones that I bought. I have noticed that I cannot find those anymore. It might be because these were shipped from China, but I am not sure on that, so do not quote me on that. But either way, I will definitely leave you a link to some sort of hemp pad to put in your trays. And the hemp pads are 10 by 20. These trays, they're 10 by 20. What I have here is your standard microgreens tray setup, where I have the grow medium on top of a tray that has drain holes, which drains to another tray underneath it, as you can see. So it drains from there, goes into there. That's how you keep your microgreens watered without the roots flooding with water and drowning them. Alrighty, Roo, we are day 2 in our microgreens growing process, and I have let my seeds soak for about a whole day. I think it's been about 22 hours. So I'm going to go ahead and drain these bad boys. And the reason we're soaking the seeds is because we want to get a better germination rate when we put them on the grow medium. So if the seeds are already soaked before you put them in your medium, like soil or a hemp pad, then they have a higher probability of sprouting. So now that the seeds are drained, I'm going to go ahead and prepare the grow medium, in my case a hemp pad, and I'm going to soak these hemp pads in water and make sure they're completely soaked before I put them on the tray, before I put the seeds on them. And the method that I use to soak my grow medium, in this case the hemp pads, is that I will fill this up with some room temperature water. You don't want it to be too hot or too cold, because you don't want to shock the seeds. That feels good. I'm going to fill this up, and while that's filling, I'm going to make sure that I have both my trays, my 2-in-1 tray system in place. I have the tray that my grow medium sits on top of with the drain holes on the bottom, and then I have the tray that goes on top of underneath it to collect the water for when I water them. So my preferred method of soaking these and putting them in their tray is quite simply getting them in there, making sure they soak. The important part is that they get soaked nice and wet. I'll flip it over. I'll also push into the hemp pad itself. Try to open it up a little bit, get some more water in there. If you got one of these in your kitchen, I use this just to kind of push it down. You can get creative with it. I'll flip it over again. Again, just to make sure it's extra soaked. All right, that is soaked. So now I'm going to transfer it to one of the trays that are ready to go. All right, and one tray is ready. Ideally, if you can soak your pad and water your microgreens with the cleanest possible water, that is ideal. So if you know for a fact that the water is filtered and it's not full of contaminants, that's best. I'm using my tap water, which as far as I know is not toxic in my area. Some areas your tap water is toxic, so you have to be careful about that. So ideally, if you can soak it and water it with purified water, that's the way to go. Now I'm going to take my soaked seeds and just kind of lay them across the mat as evenly as possible. And you can get creative with it, whatever you can find in your kitchen or your home, a tool to get all those seeds out, because you don't want to waste any of these. You don't want to soak too many seeds, and this is going to be trial and error. If you get it perfect the first time, awesome. Alright, so that's pretty good for now. Don't spend too much time on this. Just make sure there's not one area with a bunch of them concentrated in. So those are my radishes. I'm going to do the same thing with the broccoli. And these seeds are a little smaller than the radishes, so they could be a little stickier, but that's okay. If you can find a tool that better evenly distributes the seeds on this surface, let me know. Because I've just been using my fingers and like this little spatula or another kind of spatula I have just to kind of get these to where they need to go. They might make a tool specifically for distributing microgreen seeds. Now that I have the seeds that were already soaked for a full day before we put them on the tray, and I have the grow medium, which is the hemp pad that's soaked in water, I'm going to do one more spritzer bottle, so a light mister of water. I just picked this up at the local Ace Hardware. They're pretty cheap. And I'm going to give these seeds another good soaking. So this is the radish. I will do the same to the broccoli. All right, now that both these seeds are nice and soaked, what I'm going to do is cover them so they don't get any light. And what I use is just another one of the trays that are used to catch water. Another one of these trays. I just flip that upside down, throw that bad boy on top, and there we go. It's not allowed. There might be a little crack in the side, but I don't concern myself too much about it being 100% darkness. And all right, we are going to leave them covered so no light is getting in. And I will, every 8 hours, I'll take this off and spray it again with a water bottle with this spritzer, just to make sure the seeds are continually staying nice and wet. As well with the hemp pad. You want the hemp pad to stay wet as well. Another important thing to keep in mind during this whole process is air circulation, because if there's zero air circulation, you'll end up with problems such as mold. And I mean, just it being this is in one of the rooms in my apartment, just the natural airflow of it being in here is enough to keep the mold away. But if you're doing larger operations, then absolutely you need concentrated airflow or else it will develop mold. It is day 3 of our microgreens growing process. The first day we soaked the seeds in water. The second day we put them on the pad. Now it's the third day. And since I have put it on the pad, I have sprayed the seeds twice with this spritzer bottle, just to make sure they stay nice and soaked with water. You're going to notice they're going to start sprouting out of their seeds. This is what we want. Remember to keep it in darkness during this process. And pretty soon, these sprouts are going to start rooting into the grow medium, in this case, the hemp pad. And at that point, we will weigh the sprouts down to encourage them to grow down as well as to strengthen the stem. Right now, I am at the end or nearing the end of day 3 during this process, and I just sprayed these, but I wanted to show you because there has been a difference since this morning. So these are the radishes, and they are coming in nice. It looks like all of them, or almost all of them, have broken out of their shell and are sprouting and starting to take root. So I'm going to keep these wet and dark for another night. And then if they're still doing, if they're stronger tomorrow and they have taken much more root, that is when I will weigh them down so that those roots can really dig into the grow medium, and it also strengthens the stems. This is the broccoli. Hasn't shown much of a difference from earlier. Actually, yeah, it does look like more have broken out of the shell. The broccoli takes a little bit longer than the radish, but that's okay. All right, we are now on day 4. You can see that all of these have popped out of their seed. They have popped out of the shell. These guys are ready to be weighed down. If you notice, a lot of them are facing down, but a lot of the roots are not facing down, as in we're gonna force them to go down. So I'm gonna weigh them down. These are the radishes. These are coming great right now. The broccoli, they may not look as great, but they are coming in great. They're just smaller. If you notice all of that white, just like up here, all that white, those are all of the plant popping out of the shell and starting to take form. So I'm going to wait another day to weigh down the broccoli, but I'm going to definitely weigh down the radish today. But before I do that, give it another spray. Make sure it's nice and wet. And you can get creative with weighing it down. I just use another one of these trays. So I'll just flip this tray like this. Put it on there. And then you're gonna have to weigh it. So I'll use like a bag of seeds. That should be good for now. I'm gonna keep the broccoli in darkness, let that grow for a little bit more. So now that the radish is weighed down, that is going to force the plant to go down into the grow medium and take root. At the same time, that is going to strengthen the stem. A lot of times if you don't do this and your microgreens become about a week old, they'll just fall over under the weight of themselves because their stem is weak. So that is why we weigh them down at this stage. It is now the evening, and I am going to check on the progress of my microgreens. I'm gonna take off the weight that I weighed down these radishes with and see how they're doing. Oh yeah, they're doing good. They're doing real good. I'm sure you can see the imprint in them. That's because I happen to use the bottom of this tray, so there's that imprint. However, they are firm to the touch right now. So I'm going to water it again. I am going to weight it down again overnight. And then in the morning, check on them. And if I feel they need to be weighted down for a little longer, I will. However, they should be good after tomorrow morning. Let's check on the broccoli. Oh, see? Broccoli's starting to come up. Time to weigh that broccoli down. You see them starting to come up? Right there? If I were to just let that grow out, in a few days, that broccoli, it would just fall on its own weight. It would fall over. The stem would be too weak. So that's why we weight it down, to make the stems strong and to force the roots down into the grow medium. So I'm gonna spray these bad boys again. And pretty soon, the root system will be more complete. And then I can just start watering them like normal, and I won't have to spray them with this bottle anymore. All right, and we'll check on them in the morning. I'm fairly positive that by the morning, at least the radishes will be ready to be watered like normal because the roots will have grown into the grow medium enough and their stems will be strong enough. The broccoli might be a half day after that. So we'll see how it is in the morning. It is the morning after. Taking the weight off the trays to see where we are. Oh yeah. Radish is doing super good. Broccoli is doing good as well. I'll keep it weighted down for a little longer on the radish. Another half day. A good way you can check too is just lift the grow medium, in my case the hemp pad, and check out the roots underneath it. Be careful though, you don't want to disturb any of the roots. See how they're starting to come in? That's good. Let's check out the broccoli. It's good. All right, I'm gonna leave it weighted down for a little longer. Probably one more half day. I'm actually gonna go finish building a raised vegetable garden bed right now. But when I get back, I think I'll take the weight off. Let these guys grow on their own. All right, we're looking good, folks. Okay, it is now the early evening. I'm gonna check out to see how these bad boys are doing. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. These are looking real good. These are looking really good actually. Like I'm really excited for these. Same with the broccoli. Wow. We're looking really good. The roots are noticeably longer. I'm gonna let the radish grow without weight on them, but I'm gonna do another half day of weight on the broccoli because these look like they can use a little more support in the stems, and I want those stems to be extra tall. More importantly though, why we weigh them down is to make the stems extra strong. And I encourage you microgreen growers out there to play around with it. You know, experiment, see what works best for your specific plants. This looks good to me in terms of the radish, weighing down the radish. So I'm gonna, from here on out, let it grow without weight and just let it grow from here on out. There are some sprouts that did not root. There's still time for them to find the root, but I'm not gonna sit here and worry about every single tiny little sprout because then I wouldn't get anything done. I'm gonna let the radish grow without weight from now on, and I'm gonna weigh down the broccoli for another half day. So tomorrow morning, I'll take the weight off the broccoli. At this point in the video, you've probably noticed by now I have these lights set up on the shelf. So now it has come time to explain my lighting system. What I did is I was researching for just a few days and researching how to grow microgreens for just over a few days. I learned very quickly that most people on the internet were advising that you should use LED lights because for one, they are energy efficient, and for two, they are efficient themselves. There is good information out there, good research that shows the benefits of using LED lights. And that's to grow, you know, all sorts of plants, vegetables, herbs. And right now, one of the major industries that are utilizing LED light growing is the marijuana industry. marijuana is now an industry. Well, it's now a legal industry. A lot of scientific research points towards LED lighting and how effective it can be. I'll definitely leave some links below if you want to find out more information on that, because of course I'm still learning. When I was thinking of how to utilize my apartment to grow microgreens, I thought about going vertical. I'm sure if you've looked up how to grow microgreens online or some people's microgreen operations, you'll see large shelves with massive long fluorescent lights. That's when you're at the commercial status and you're growing enough microgreens to be selling, and that's when you start making some good money. But I am just a small time operation. I'm not trying to sell to any businesses or try to sell any farmers markets, not yet at least. What I wanted to do is I just wanted to grow some just for my girlfriend and I, so we have enough for personal consumption and enough so I can keep learning. So what I did is I went on Amazon and I bought these shelves. I believe these shelves are like 13 by 30 inches or something like that. I'll leave a link to that below. I'll leave everything below in a link that I have here. So everything you see in these videos, I will leave in a link if you're interested in doing it. I thought about this LED system that I could wire all the way down without having to buy individual fluorescent lights for every level of the shelf. So what I did was I bought LED strip lighting, which comes in a little roll, and I unrolled it and I just did it. I snaked it all the way down. And so every single level of my shelf has LED lights. Recently, in the last year or so, I learned that certain ends of the color spectrum, the light spectrum, affect plants differently as well. For instance, you have your blue end of the light spectrum, and then you have red within that spectrum. And the research pointed to that a mixture of red and blue harness the best results. Again, with plants, how do plants grow naturally? They respond to the sun. What you want to do when you grow plants is you want to mimic the natural environment as much as possible. So a lot of growers are growing with red and blue LED lighting. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to leave these lights on for about 12 hours a day. You can do your research. Some species of vegetable or whatever microgreen you're growing, they do better in certain specific conditions. So with setups like this, where you have, you know, a control knob to all of your lighting, which is incredible if you think about it, you can mimic your natural conditions as much as possible. So I can set these to red and blue. Everything I'm telling you in this video, please do your due diligence and do your research and learn this stuff. I'm just putting together this video, you know, just to get you started, to get you that confidence it takes just to start your very first batch of microgreens. Because once you first start it, you realize there's really not much to it. And if you live in an apartment like me, or you're living in the city, it doesn't require too much energy consumption either. But please, again, do your own research and just do your own research. This is just after a few hours of being under light. Look how green they already are. So that's pretty exciting. I think this is going to be a good batch of radishes. It is now the next morning, and I am going to check. See what the broccoli is doing. Oh, wow. That's really good. Coming in real good. Yep, this is ready to be in the normal light as well. We are finally at the point where I can start watering these like normal. So to water the microgreens, I just use a regular old gallon jug, and I'll just get a nice even layer across the pad of water. Also, during this process, don't confuse root hairs with mold. These are root hairs. This is mold. And the way I water it is I just like to do 4 steady streams going down the length of the pad. Okay, now it is at the point where the broccoli will also just remain under light now. And I'm going to just continue to water these once a day and let them grow. And I will let them grow to my desired length. Keep in mind, just like sprouts, the shorter or longer you let the microgreens grow will affect the taste. Mess around with it. Trial and error. Woo-wee! It is the next day, and these are looking beautiful. Look at these bad boys. These are my radish. Nice and firm. That's because we weighted them down. And this is the broccoli. These are feeling good too. If we didn't weigh these down while they were sprouting and rooting, then these would have fallen over by now under their own weight because the stems would have been so weak. And on a side note, I have started the seedlings for a raised vegetable bed that I'm going to try out this summer. If we can get some sun. It's been very cloudy over here in northern Illinois. But hopefully we get some sun, and I'm going to grow some spinach, kale, beets, radish, carrots, broccoli, some herbs. We got some lavender, some dill, some rosemary, some chive. Yum, yum. We have come to the 8th day of this microgreens growing process. And as you can see, these are some really healthy plants here. These are looking great. I have no mold. That little bit you see there is a root hair. It's not mold. And as you can see, the longer the plants get, the more noticeable it is to see how the plants actually move and respond to light. When I come in here in the morning, before I turn on my artificial lighting, these plants are facing this window because they're looking for the light. And you will notice the same thing. And you'll see it in the time lapse at the end of this video for your viewing pleasure. It's really cool to see how the plants themselves are alive. They actively respond to stuff just like we do. Respect the plants, and the plants will respect you. And for the purpose of this video, I will go ahead and harvest today. These are ready to be harvested. I can let them grow out more if I want to, but I don't need to. I have shown you that you can grow your own food in 7 days, just 1 week. This little missing corner over here is me coming in here occasionally. Every time I pass by, I'll pick a few of these and munch on them throughout the day. Oh my God, so good. So flavorful. So it is now time to harvest these bad boys. I cannot wait, I'm excited. So, first of all, I'm gonna empty the water container. Take a look at those roots though. A lot of these roots find their way through these little drain holes. A lot of people like to just take scissors and just cut from a certain point, and then they get their finished product. But I don't like doing that. I like to take my time, and I like to pull them out because I like to get as much substance, as much mass as possible. If you cut it from the bottom of the stem, you're missing out on a bunch of it, a bunch of the mass, and you're just wasting a lot of it. So what I do, I'll get some warm water, and I will loosen up this hemp pad with warm water. And I'm just gonna harvest. You don't want to pick out too large of chunks at one time, because then you'll end up taking some of the hemp pad with it. And you'll get better at this and faster at this over time. It may seem a little cumbersome at first, but it really only takes about 5 minutes. I'm not gonna spend too much time making sure every tiny little piece is picked out. But as you can see here, this is pretty much fully harvested. And I'm gonna do the same exact thing for the broccoli. I would not suggest trying to reuse the hemp pad once you're done with it. Unfortunately, and as you can see, we have a pretty bountiful harvest just from 2 trays. This is the radish, this is the broccoli, and this was only 1 week of barely any real work. You just really have to tend to them in the very beginning, and then once they get going, you just put them under light and keep watering them. And that's it. That's the microgreens process. These microgreens can be eaten on their own. You can put them in a salad. You can put them in soup. You can put them in pasta. You can put them on a sandwich. Really, the possibilities are endless. You can get really creative with how you can implement these microgreens into your diet. And they're very tasty and very nutritious. And pretty soon, I will put out some videos talking more technical about the details of the benefits of microgreens, similar to the benefits of Sprouts videos that we already put out. Once you have these inside of some Tupperware, these will typically last about a week in the fridge. I wouldn't try to push it to 2 or 3 weeks. And it's important to remember that you need to keep rinsing these. So if I take these out of the container, let's say 3 or 4 days from now, I'm still gonna rinse them before I consume them. So just like your Sprouts, you always wanna rinse your microgreens. What we like to do, and actually Nicole showed me this, is the use of a salad spinner. You put your greens in there, and then you spin this thing, and with centrifugal force, all of the water will be put into this bowl. It'll strain it with gravity. Kind of similar to what your washing machine does before it's over. It does that final spin dry before you put it into the dryer. The same idea applies here. So yes, it is important to remember that this is fresh produce and does not last forever. So if you grow microgreens, try to implement it in your diet so they don't just sit in the fridge and go to waste. Of course, probably the biggest reason to keep these as dry as possible is to prevent the build of mold. That's why a salad spinner works really well. If you can find another tool that dries out greens, let me know. I would love to learn about that. We hope you enjoyed our video of how to grow your own microgreens inside of your home.
Enjoy.
Enjoy, happy growing, happy eating, and please comment below with some feedback and let us know whether or not things that you did worked out better for you or not. Bye.
Get growing.
Till next time.